What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Week 1 OUA Show. We apologize for the technical difficulties. We did try the live stream on Sunday. Unfortunately, I was working the back end, which was, I guess, not a great idea. I didn't record it with audio. My bad. My apologies. We will be live this upcoming Sunday for all of Week 2's action. So we do apologize off the top for that. But Wade, what a Week 1 of OUA football action we had.
It was quite the spectacle. We got a Yates Cup rematch that ended a bit differently than it looked last time out, as well as our two alma maters going head to head. Let's start at Western, though. The 41-13 win over the McMaster Marauders.
Yeah, what a game there. What a game on the ground for the Western Mustangs off the top. A lot here that we were excited for. Jackson White being one of those things. But Western did as Western does. They come out bully ball on the ground, 8.6 yards per carry. I knew Western was going to run the ball, but I didn't expect both of Western's running backs to be over 150 on the ground.
Yeah, it's Trey Humes hitting 182 yards and Keon Edwards 174 with 3 touchdowns. That was a big showing for the Western Mustangs, especially on the ground, like you said. It's Western. This is what they do. They push you around. But to go in and push around the defending Yates Cup champions this badly says a lot about how ticked off Coach Marshall was heading into this new year.
Yeah, no doubt. And Jackson White, let's take a minute to sit here and talk about Jackson White because – new team for him, Western Mustangs, first time taking over this Western Mustangs offense. Chris Merchant, no longer the guy there, transferred from McMaster. He had a good game. He didn't throw the ball a lot, and obviously they leaned on that ground game, running the ball as much as they did, but Jackson White still 2 touchdowns through the air in this game. He looked good, connected on most of his passes as well.
And as we go into this year, the more he does with a high efficiency, the more Greg Marshall's going to put on his plate, and he'll eventually get to that point like Chris Merchant had where he's taking over games. But when you have a run game this good, you don't need to throw the ball that much. 12 completions, perfectly fine.
No, you certainly do not. But the one thing before we move on here, the one thing from McMaster, and I do expect them to bounce back. I think, Andreas Dueck didn't have a great game, but that offense just needs a bit of time. They are going to click. They're going to come into play. The McMaster Marauders are a good team, but the one thing that I do want to see them clean up is the penalty yards, because 12 penalties for 123 yards, not great for the McMaster Marauders. I would like to see them take care of that a little bit.
Absolutely. If it wasn't for Cam Creech and fumble, this game might have been even more lopsided for Western. Let's move on, though. Our 12 Marauders, Toronto, an 11-10 win over the Ottawa GGs. Unfortunately, some sad news developed out of that game afterwards. Very sorry for the GGs and their loss. It's being felt around Canadian football, not even just the OUA.
Our sincerest condolences go out to the GGs, the Perron family here from CFP. That's terrible news. My heart goes out to all those guys at Ottawa. We do talk about this on All Canadian as well. So, just our sincerest condolences to everybody in the U Ottawa GGs football organization. But a great game here between the U Ottawa GGs and the Toronto Varsity Blues, 11-10, like you said. And Toronto just wore down the Ottawa GGs defense, man. Like Clay Sequeira and the surrounding cast of Will Corby, Nolan Lovegrove, they looked great. Daniel Diodati, sorry, I can't leave him out either. But that passing offense looked great. Clay Sequeira looked great. A rushing touchdown for him on the day. Love the Selly carrying the ball into the end zone. But a good day from the Toronto Varsity Blues offense and a good day from their defense as well. A clutch pick when they needed it most.
Yeah, and they end up playing a lot of man coverage, which goes against their normal style of defense, but it ended up working. They ended up getting a pick by James Gregg. Caleb Zigbee broke up the last chance attempt by the GGs as well. And with a team that has a lot of young starters and a lot of turnover from what we saw in 2019, that was a huge game for them in week 1 to just get some game reps under their belt and get comfortable as a unit.
And they certainly did that. Ottawa, though, they didn't look bad. they didn't look bad at all. Dawson O'Day looked very good running the ball. He had 9 carries. I think he was up over 50 yards and a touchdown on the day. They didn't use JP Simonkinda as much as I thought they might. He might still be just getting used to that system, getting used to the offense. He is the new transfer from Guelph. I assume he'll get more snaps, more reps as the season goes on. But Ben Miracle threw the ball a ton in this matchup.
Yeah, he did. And one guy that was on the back end of that one, Rodney Estime, 8 for 149 with a couple highlight catches sprinkled in on that one.
Yeah, he had a great day for the U Ottawa GGs. Certainly a player to keep your eye on. And, Ben Miracle, he doesn't have Carter Matheson anymore. He doesn't have Kalen Beaver to throw the ball to, but Dylan St. Pierre, DSP, is still there. And now new emerging wide receivers for this GG's offense. I'm excited to see how they're going to grow. And, they're certainly going to have to deal with a tough Carleton Ravens defense twice this season. We'll be getting kind of 2 Panda games in this one, obviously the official and unofficial Panda games, but room for improvement for the GGs. I think they're still kind of building and learning a Marcel Belfait offense, but Toronto, certainly a team to look out for in the East.
And let's move to the last 1 o'clock game, Laurier against the York Lions. The Laurier defense, they brought it. 4 interceptions. Their special teams brought it as well with 3 blocked kicks. What a statement and what a welcome back to their home crowd as they put on a clinic with turnovers and blocked kicking attempts, really.
Yeah, 3 blocks, 4 INTs on the day. A great day from the Laurier Golden Hawks special teams unit and defensive unit. However, Connor Caracello got hurt in this game. I believe he hurt his shoulder during this game. So, we're going to be looking for him to bounce back. Obviously, we want to see him on the field leading this Golden Hawks offense. But 3 block kicks for them is huge. Great day from Shamari Hutchinson.
Yeah, and let's not leave out the 2 running backs, Tanner Nelmus, Brady Lonart, 29 for 171 and 1 touchdown combined on the ground. So the Laurier Golden Hawks getting back to their usual ground game, great defense, and athletic plays all over the field. But for the York Lions, this is not the way you want to start your season. You've got to clean up the interceptions, get a few less turnovers in the game, especially when you're playing against physical, tough teams like Laurier.
And Laurier, what do you think we're going to see from Laurier as they continue to kind of move on here and build through the season? Like, could Laurier be one of these sneaky teams in kind of cutting their way into a playoff and then maybe beating a team late in the season here?
They will probably be a road playoff team and then upset someone first round. That's what I could see happening with this Laurier team. They just have a good mix of veterans, athletic freaks, and timely plays like blocked kicks and interceptions always help boost chances. But that was week 1. So we don't want to make too much out of it. Let's move to the nation's capital now, where we had the Queen's Golden Gales take on and take down the Carleton Ravens in an 18-6 win.
And they did so with their defense. What a day from that Queen's Gales defense. They used to be called the Golden Gales. I may be dating us, but that was certainly a golden defensive performance from them. 3 sacks from Anthony Federico. Great day from him in his 2021 debut. And I think that's really what sealed the win for them in this one. Tanner DeYoung, the Carleton quarterback, just had absolutely no time to throw. Now, he still did have almost 300 yards, but it was a lot of pressure. It was a lot of quick decisions. He had a couple big gainers from his wide receivers, especially Acadia Axman, wide receiver, AUS transfer, Glodin Mullally having a great day. But the Queens defensive unit and really the offensive line as well kind of were the stories for this one for me in a Queens win over Carleton.
Yeah, and let's talk about the defense for Queens a bit, because Ryan Beckmanis spent time at Queens, went to Carleton, spent time there, and now is back with the Gales, and his defense brought it. They had Anthony Federico recording 3 sacks with a couple more tackles on the day. Nolan Bedard was great in coverage, and Keegan Vanek, the young DB that was highly recruited coming into the Gales, made a huge impact in coverage as well.
Yeah, Nolan Bedard, outside of Anthony Federico, Nolan Bedard might be one of my favorite players on this Gales defense. I watched him a lot in 2019, and you can just kind of slot him in anywhere. He'll play Sam. He'll play some halfback. He'll play some safety. He's good deep in coverage. He's aggressive when he gets to come off the line. He likes to create havoc and hit people. But the offensive line for Queens, let's talk about them because they kept James Keenan upright, standing on his feet, making plays all day long. Keenan looked comfortable. He looked calm. He was able to run around back there and make plays with his legs, not because he necessarily had to, but because it was the design of the play this year. We saw in 2019 a lot of scramble plays for Queens. This year, it was a lot of James Keenan on the run by design.
And I think the benefit with having this offensive line group that's had years playing beside each other in live game reps, they've got such good chemistry. They've grown together as a group. And as a result, like you said, Keenan is able to stand upright and pick and choose his spots, resulting in big plays like Langlois and Richard Burton getting 2 40-plus yard touchdowns, which really sold the game for Queens. I mean, take those 2 scores off the boards, and it's a 6-4 win for Carleton. I know we're getting into baseball scores here, but those 2 deep balls really shifted the tide and shifted the momentum at key points in the game right before half and late when Carleton was still hanging around. It was great to see, and it was all done because this offensive line was able to play so well.
No, I totally agree. And before we move on, I do want to spend a bit of time here on the Carleton offensive unit because, despite the outcome of the game, they looked great. Tanner DeYoung up near 300 yards, like I said, and some big days from those wide receivers for the Ravens.
Yeah, Glowden Mullally, like you had mentioned earlier, 5 for 74. He had a good day as well. And then Keaton Bruglings had a good day as well. He's a good, solid receiver that Tanner DeYoung really trusts, especially with the absence of Nick Renault, who's out with a season-ending injury. Tanner's going to have to find new guys to really grow with and rely on. Those 2 guys look like they could slide into that spot.
And Tanner DeYoung might have had one of our favorite throws of the weekend collectively here at CFP. We were talking to Marshall about this one, before we realized the audio went out, but we were talking about Tanner DeYoung. He kind of dropped back, was flat-footed, made his reads, had a guy deep downfield, and didn't really kind of jump up and step into the throw like you normally see quarterbacks do. He kind of just turned his hips, and Marsh said he kind of turned his hips flat foot and just flicked the ball about, 40 some odd yards downfield. He was maybe on his 3 or 4, and he put it down near the 40, 50 yard line. Like, heck of a throw from Tanner DeYoung. And I think, and Marsh said this too, but I think if this is what the Ravens have to work with at quarterback, you're okay with a gritty week 1 loss. And, I really do think that Carleton, as we move on throughout the season, is going to be one of these offensive units to watch in the futures, especially special teams as well. They shut that Gales special teams unit down.
It's time now, though, to move to the nightcap. The Waterloo Warriors taking down the Windsor Lancers 42-14 in the return of both Trey and Tyrell Ford, who opted out of the CFL draft this last year.
Heck of a game here for the Waterloo Warriors, who took this one 42-14 over the Windsor Lancers. The return of Trey Ford to OUA football. Great game for him on the day, completing 19 of his 29 passing attempts, over 200 yards, a passing touchdown, and 2 rushing touchdowns on the day. He looked great, and the Waterloo Warriors special teams and defense looked great on the day as well. 3 fumbles.
Yeah, and one of those fumbles came on the CFP play of the week. That's coming from Andy Mello. The safety came down in a +1. They huddled a ton of people up at the line of scrimmage trying to confuse Gerard on where the pressure was going to come from. Off the snap, running back went to the backside, and here came Andy Mello off the front side into the face of the Windsor quarterback, causing a fumble. Scoop and score for Michael Reed, and the Waterloo Warriors had an 80-yard defensive touchdown. I mean, wow. Just the play happened so quick, and it's such a short turnaround from snap to +1 hitting to begin with, and then you add the fumble into it. The Waterloo defense looked good. They looked fast and athletic. I mean, they're always going to when they have a guy like Tyrell Ford on that side. But this offense just ticked along. They did what Waterloo does. Trey Ford picked you apart with some deep balls. He had some half-speed rushing touchdowns because he never really has to get full speed when you're down near the goal line. I don't think we've ever seen him hit that close to the end zone.
Well, one of my favorite plays, I've got two, I think, really, outside of obviously the huge defensive play for the touchdown in the game. But Trey Ford on one of his rushing touchdowns down near the goal line in the red zone, kind of read action play, rolls out to the right, and then just hammers somebody on the goal line before he makes the touchdown. Like, have we seen a guy this big and this athletic and this powerful at the quarterback position in recent years? Because I can't remember it. And he put in the work over this offseason. He got rocked. He looks big, strong, and he flies around the field. He's so fun to watch play this year.
I don't think we've seen a guy this big, this powerful, who also has Trey Ford's speed, because that's what really makes him a different animal. I mean, we can see big, powerful runners, big, powerful quarterbacks, but when you add the dynamic of a guy that's one of the fastest players in U Sports, it just changes the game completely. And at the drop of a hat, he can score from anywhere on the field.
And he can score with his arm. And that's one of these things that I want to highlight. Like, a lot of times we see often in college football that teams have great running quarterbacks that kind of suffer at the arm a little bit. And that's fine. You can live and die by that in college football. But with Trey Ford on his touchdown pass in week 1 of OUA action, like, he dropped back. There was significant pressure. He stayed calm. He stayed cool. And he just let one rip downfield. He hit a seam kind of up the hash for a touchdown. Like, to possess that arm talent and that just innate ability to read a secondary, stay calm, even with the pocket collapsing around you, and rip a deep touchdown, a deep 40-yard touchdown. Trey Ford is just such an impressive athlete to me.
And a quiet day for Gordon Lamb, who is expected to be the top target for Waterloo. So look forward to him getting going as we go through this season. That kind of concludes what we have for the week 1 slate. So thank you guys so much. Connor's at Connor R. O'Neill on social media. I'm at Wade Zank. You can follow CF Perspective at that exact handle. But for this week, and we will see you shortly with our preview for week 2. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we hope you enjoyed OUA football week 1.
Thank you so much for bearing with us through these technical difficulties. We promise we will be live on Sunday this week. We will get it right. Hope you enjoyed this OUA preview. You can catch Wade and myself chopping it up over some OUA football action on All Canadian, our podcast on the Canadian Football Perspective Podcast Network. That's it for us. We'll catch you guys on Thursday with our week 2 preview.